Hello everyone, thank you for being here for today's Assemble This video. It is all about simple mixed media today for a really lovely sympathy card. I'll be layering lots of inks over this beautiful stamp in different ways to get this vintage look. So stick around and assemble this card with me. I am featuring this huge butterfly, moth, I don't know, seraphim wings stamp set from Unity Stamp Company. A lot of people are saying it's a moth, but I think butterflies are prettier, so I am going to be calling it a butterfly today. The detail on this stamp is just amazing. I'm inking it up with some distress ink in pine needles and stamping it on some pattern paper, also from Unity, called Blossom Avenue. And I just stamped it once and it just was beautiful. I am going for a more vintage look, so I was not mad that it didn't have like a perfect dark crisp impression. I I went with that kind of distressed look and then covered it with clear embossing powder. I do not want this green to go away. With all my other techniques, I don't want it to blend, I don't want it to smear, so I covered it with embossing powder so it would be nice and crisp for all the layering I'm going to be doing on top of it. Next, I grabbed some more Distress Ink colors. These are three of my favorite colors. I use them all the time. I'm using Evergreen Bow to ink blend over the butterfly itself. It's like a lighter version of that pine needles. And next I'm going to be doing some selective ink smooshing. And I like this method using the little tiny block when I want just small ink smooshes in particular areas, and I have that control. So I'm starting out with the Evergreen Bow, just smush that onto a slick surface. This is a laminated piece of cardstock, but you can use whatever you have. And then I pick it up with that little tiny block after I've diluted it with some water and smush it right over the top of my inked piece. I'm also using worn lipstick and fossilized amber and just smushing those in random spots all over my inked panel here. And I'm giving it a good dry. I want to make sure it's nice and dry before I move on to my next step, which is a little bit of stenciling. Now I'm going to add a little bit of texture and design over top that ink smooshing. So I'm using the same color that I ink smooshed with this Tim Holtz stencil. And I'm just moving it around in places that I've ink smooshed already, and then also kind of carrying that design into the butterfly as well. And again, just another layer of texture on top of what we've previously done. Now I'm switching between my colors and I just wiped away that previous yellow from the stencil with a dry towel, and then I'm moving on to my worn lipstick and building up that texture on top of where I ink smushed previously with the worn lipstick. And I just love how this adds just a little bit of something for your eye to look at. It's very subtle, but all of these little elements layered together is what really adds some dimension and texture to the look of your stamping. And finally, I'll just add some splatters using vintage photo. Again, I set this aside to dry really well, or you could use your heat tool. And then I'm tearing away the top and the bottom at an angle. I thought it'd be a little bit different to the design of the card if we went at an angle across instead of straight across. And I thought that looked really cool. I covered my card base with some more of that Blossom Avenue pattern paper, and then I grabbed a scrap piece of craft cardstock and cut it to the size of my card. And then again, I'm going to tear the top and the bottom at the same angle that I tore my butterfly panel. And then I'm just going to cut that in half just because my panel wasn't large enough. And then I'm going to glue this down straight onto my card base, just using some tape adhesive. And then I'm going to use my stamped panel as a guide. Just going to place that right behind and then line that up on my card base. This is my lazy way of figuring things out instead of measuring or whatever. I just kind of eyeball it. And there we go. So we have our 2 strips of craft cardstock directly on our card base. And now I'm going to pop up that butterfly panel with some foam adhesive and then put that right in the center of the craft strips. And already this is really building up and looking really fun. I like the way that the craft panels separate our stamped panel from that busy background. It's just a way to really kind of give your eye a break from all the busy patterns. Next, I stamped the sentiment from So Kind, So Caring, So You onto some craft cardstock and then trim that down. And then I'm just going to pop that up on my card front, kind of moving it around and putting it where I think it looks good to me. And then I'll use a T-ruler to really make sure that that sentiment is nice and straight. And last, I'm going to add some flat back pearls just to add a bit of gold shine to the card. And here is the final look. I just really love how all that stamping and layering of inks really created such a vibrant and beautiful card. I don't think sympathy cards always have to be so muted and somber. A little bit of brightness can really cheer somebody up in some of their darkest days. Check out the description of this video or my dollhouse-designs.com blog for a list of all the supplies. Be sure to like and subscribe to catch all my video tutorials. And of course, if you have any questions or sweet comment, post below. Thank you for creating with me. It truly makes my day. Hope you were inspired, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.